Hello, my wonderful friends here on YouTube. I hope you guys are all good today. Welcome to my video, and I welcome always my wonderful subscribers and commenters and all the brand new people that have joined my channel recently. Every day I get new subscribers to my channel. Clearly, the higher truth is wanted in the death of Chris Cornell. So I thank all of the new subscribers as well. Now, I made a video the other day about Chris Cornell surveillance, and someone said in my video that, in my comment section, that I sounded really down and unhappy and sad and tired, and the fact of the matter is it's true. I am sad about Chris Cornell death, and Chester Bennington, of course, as well. And I was tired. And the reason I'm sad is because I don't understand why we're not seeing any investigation, any kind of waves being made to fully understand what happened to Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington. Now, I've watched the video of Talinda Bennington again, the one that she speaks about her husband and what he, how he was and what happened to him and his depression and death and all of that. And, I'm appalled at that woman, appalled. And I can't understand that one comes out to speak of a topic, especially about her husband as well, a topic that's important and it's serious. And the topic is depression and suicide. And she presents herself in the way she presented herself. To me, looks do matter in certain instances. And this is one instance where looks mattered. How would people take her seriously, dressed in a mini skirt with her legs out, crossed like Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, because that's exactly what she reminded me of, or her pose, not her, and expect people to take her seriously. The things that came out of her mouth were just appalling, to say the least. She said that she normalized her husband's suicide to the children. How can you normalize such a horrendous act? She's throwing out all of these words that she doesn't even know what they mean. And I've never known anyone who's used that kind of language in reference to their husband's suicide and trying to normalize it to the children. That is just the biggest nonsense that I've heard in a long time coming out of that woman's mouth. How can you normalize a suicide to children and then bring them back into the house to live there where their father had hung himself, allegedly, in one of the rooms, and normalize all that? What about the tweets that she put out before her husband, when her husband died, Chester Bennington? Immediately when Chester Bennington died, she tweeted that her husband was murdered, she knows who it is, and then quickly these tweets were removed and she claimed that she was hacked, which is, again, another lie. She placed those tweets when Chester Bennington died. She freaked out, placed those tweets, and then was quickly told to remove those tweets. And she did. And she was, brought up to speed as to what's going to go down if she doesn't toe the line that they want her to toe. And she's done an about face ever since then. And, Chris Cornell's death, there was a lot of pictures, well, a lot of pictures. Let me qualify that by saying there were a lot of images shown, allegedly, of the hotel room, allegedly, and the whole death scene of Chris Cornell's. But with Chester Bennington, there was absolutely nothing shown, not one picture, nothing. There was no autopsy. I believe there was an autopsy done, and yes, that's online, but there was no in-depth toxicology report or anything like that done on Chester Bennington, as far as I know. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. So here we have her with Ann Shinoda, the wife of Mike Shinoda from Lincoln Park. In my opinion, Ann Shinoda is her handler. She is the handler to Linda Bennington. And she's there making sure she stays, with the program that they put forward for her to follow. And just watching that video, apart from the things that came out of her mouth, just the terrible things that she said about her husband. Now, whether her husband was drug addicted, was crazy, was whatever he was, it was due to the fact that this man, when he was a boy, was sexually molested for many years when he was a child. That's common knowledge because Chester Bennington disclosed that information to the public himself. And, he basically, in my opinion, rose above that disgusting experience that anyone could ever have, a child especially, to be molested by a family member or whatever. It's a difficult thing to come out of. Spiritually, it's difficult. Emotionally, intellectually, it's difficult to rise above a sexual abuse from a family member, from an adult to a child. But Chester Bennington, in his life, rose above the abuse, became a very well-known singer and songwriter, fronted a band like Lincoln Park, filled stadiums, and worked in charities as well, with similar to Chris Cornell. And she's coming out and saying that he was hogtied and yeah, he wanted to kill himself before. He was just high and fucked up, and excuse my phrase, but that's how she basically put it. And these talks that she's doing to enlighten us all about Chester Bennington and depression and drug addiction or whatever she's trying to, suicide prevention and all of that, what good is it doing for her kids to speak in that manner about their father? Whether he was hogtied or wasn't, what value does that give to the children, and what does it do to give her husband respect in death? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It doesn't give anything positive, because he's dead. So at least, have some decency and say nothing. You don't have to, tell the world, and including your children listening, that their father was hogtied and, was trying to commit suicide because he was, high on drugs. So I do not like that. And this woman is clearly being told what to do, how to do it. She's got Ann Shinoda there as her minder. And today, someone sent me a tweet that she put out. And I'm going to read this tweet because it's important. Thanks so much for all your support and views to the Bell Let's Talk Day live stream. I wanted to take this opportunity to point out that while the circumstances leading up to mine and Vicky Cornell's husband's passing although both shocking and tragic, were very different. It is extremely important that we are all aware that it's not just depression and ideation that can take a life. As a close friend and mental health advocate, I can share that Chris did not have depression at the time of his death, nor did he suffer from any suicidal ideation, but a drug-induced delirium. Everyone's experience is different and should never be bundled into one size fits all. Chris Cornell's story is an extremely important lesson to learn from as well. Man, unbelievable. So they've got her coming out now saying that Chris Cornell was not depressed and he did not suffer from suicidal ideation, but a drug-induced delirium. Now, how can that be true? How could he have suffered from a drug-induced delirium when there were no drugs in his system to invoke this delirium, other than traces of Ativan and trace of other medication that he was prescribed? How could she come out again and say that Chris Cornell was in a drug-induced state and that made him hang himself? I don't know. But it seems to me that the narrative of, drug addiction, like Vicky said, my husband was a drug addict. This tweet is to reinforce what Vicky said to the police, in my opinion. How could he, have been in a drug-induced ideation and delirium when there was no drugs to speak of in his system, and the coroner at Detroit, the medical examiner at Detroit coroner's office said that none of the drugs that were in his system, none of the substances, had anything to do with taking his life. Leave it at that. So, you see, she's being told here to talk this way, to say these things. And, giving us all this BS to reinforce Vicky's statement to the police. This is my take on it. I will link this tweet, or no, it's an Instagram post for you guys to go and read for yourselves. But it is just mind-blowing how they're spinning this story and making Chris Cornell out to be a drug addict and that he died from a drug-induced delirium. You guys can read it for yourselves and tell me what you think if you want to. Take care, my friends. Stay well. And until the next time, thank you very much for your attention.